Well, welcome everyone to another installment of our Future of Real Estate series. We're here today with Chip Craig, who is the broker and owner of GreyBeard Realty and Rentals. So, welcome, Chip.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks for being here. And I mean, we've known each other for a long time, but even longer, you've known the Adlers and Union Street Media. So, I think coming up on 16 years or something crazy like that. But
Something
I'm
like that.
curious, even before that, how did you get into real estate? And can you tell us the story of how Greybeard became Greybeard?
Sure. I was an unhappy banker in Charlotte, North Carolina, and moved up here to the mountains. I live in a little town called Black Mountain, just outside of Asheville. And I actually came up here to work for Outward Bound, and I was director of marketing for Outward Bound for about 5 years, and just loved living here. So I tried to figure out what I could do and stay in this area, and there weren't a lot of options. It didn't look like Outward Bound would be a good long-term career. So I didn't know where I started a real estate company. It was about the only thing I could think of to anchor me here in town. And I actually started as a property management company, sending out letters to people, trying to pick up vacation rental houses. So that was kind of the beginning of it.
Wow, that's amazing. I feel like a lot of people I talk to just sort of happened into the industry, you know, by chance. And that also takes a lot of courage. I guess, how did you know where to start or figure out how to sort of build your business?
Yeah, I mean, I still say the same thing today, which is we make it up every day. And it was hard. I went and met with a company that did vacation rentals to start with. And that was the beginning of it, I guess, is to kind of steal ideas from other people. He wasn't a competitor. Um, but and the other thing that I keep, and I still say the same thing now, even, but I'm like, if it doesn't work out, I'll go back into banking. So we still have a way out if I needed it. So luckily, I
Never.
haven't had to go back into banking
Yeah, I'm glad for that too.
yet.
Never hurts to have a backup plan, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of preparedness, I'm curious how business has changed for you this year and how you sort of feel you were or were not prepared for the shift in consumer needs and agent needs that has come with the coronavirus.
Yeah, it's really been very much of a roller coaster and very very stressful. And then this is my 21st year. We weathered 2008, and I was getting kind of cocky. I'm afraid. Thought I'd figured this business out, and then March hit, and everything just shut down. And you don't like we manage a couple hundred vacation rentals, and you don't anticipate vacation rental income just stopping.
Mhm.
I've been through the brokerage side where brokerage has really decreased, but in the 21 years, vacation rental income has not, hasn't decreased. It's always gone up. And
Mhm.
so March hit, and they wouldn't allow us to do vacation rentals for a couple of months. We weren't allowed to show homes, so it was a complete panic in my mind. And I thought I was beyond that after doing this for so long, but it was something I hadn't anticipated. So I guess the lesson there is not to get too cocky. Um, and then it was weird. We came out of out of the shutdowns, and business just started booming. And everybody wants to live here now, and everybody wants to vacation here. So over the last three or however many months, it seems like a long time, but 3 or 4 months, it's just been all out business in a positive way. Had no idea that would be the outcome, but we're going to have, unless something changes again, we'll have the best year we've ever had, both on the vacation rental side and the brokerage side. So it's really been a roller coaster, very very stressful, but it's all worked out so far.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that things are looking up, and I'm curious, how you supported and motivated your team through this period, and sort of imagine that the connection with your agents has become even more important than ever. But what are some of the things you've been doing that maybe you hadn't been before?
Um, It's funny, we haven't had a sales meeting since February,
Wow.
which I shouldn't admit. But we have one through Zoom this month, so it'll be the first time the whole group has gotten together, and we all miss each other. But I've talked individually with everybody, and we have about 30 brokers, and I've tried to keep people up to date. It's like this is what we're doing. This is this. I'm a stats person, so it's
Mhm.
like this is how things are trending, and it became, after the first 4 weeks of the kind of what I call the shutdown. After that, it became pretty apparent that things were going to be okay. I didn't realize how good business was going to be, but it became pretty obvious. And then with the salaried staff, I just tried to communicate with them that their job was safe. That I didn't anticipate doing any kind of layoffs or anything for the next few months, and tried to give them some comfort in that.
Mhm. That I think that frequent communication, those stats. I know you're a data nerd like I am with your marketing background. Those are important certainly, and I'm curious also. I mean, obviously, during times of uncertainty, trust is a big piece too, and just having that relationship. And so, on the customer side, I'm curious how you're sort of establishing or maintaining trust when you have a ton of people moving into the area. A lot of them are wanting to, a lot of them may know nothing about, Buncombe County or Black Mountain or Asheville. And how has that customer experience changed, and how are you working to sort of create that trust virtually?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's changed. I mean, our whole focus at mine is always like it just so happens that I sell houses. I mean, it's not something I just am passionate about a house, but I always tell our brokers, and I've always had the philosophy of just help the people,
Mhm.
help the customer, whatever their needs are. I'm helping one right now get out of a contract, so it's not to my benefit. But I think it's important to take the long term approach, and to build these relationships with people, and just help them. And it may be that you help them now with their um, some kind of fighting a tax valuation or something. You don't get any benefit from that, but you just help them out, and they're going to refer people to you. They're gonna if they have a real estate need, they're gonna call you, and just over time that you do build up trust with people,
Mhm. Just doing what's right.
doing what's right and helping them.
Yeah. Well, and you, I mean, have always been a believer in Greybeard is super active in the community and giving back and participating with the local, school and local politics. And so I'm curious if that has changed. Obviously, you've always been a part of it, but do you find there's more demand for that local support and that local connection and outside of real estate too? I mean, I know it all interconnects.
Yeah, in relationship to COVID or just things in general?
Yeah, in relationship to COVID in this year, like people are craving that local,
Yeah,
connection.
we, like, I mean, the one thing we did do, it was I think it's important, there's a lot of needs out there right now, but right in the middle of it, like I said, we were paying full-time employees, but yet they weren't that busy.
Mhm.
So I just said, if you want to go out in the community, if you do have downtime, I know some of you are really busy, but if you do have downtime and want to just consider as part of Greybeard time, you're welcome to go out and help organizations. So we've done things like take over some elderly person's yard over the last few years. I mean, not last few years, last few months, and just done all the landscaping for that. Um, there's a place called Christian Ministries that has 6 homes for homeless women, and we've gone and started doing the landscaping for that. But it was more of if we had downtime, and it felt like there was a lot of neat opportunity to help people.
Mm.
Um, it's funny on the flip side of that, a lot of the things I've been involved in, the boards and stuff, have kind of slowed down because of COVID.
Mm.
Some of the nonprofits have kind of taken a step back. Others have stepped forward. It just kind of depends on what the mission of the organization is.
Mm. Yeah. Well, and I love that example of sort of being able to donate time too as one of our most precious resources and
Right. Right.
helping others. I'm curious, no one has a crystal ball now, and GreyBeard has been around for a long time. You've been really successful. What are some of the things you hope to achieve in the next couple of years? What's next for you?
Um, well, in the very immediate future, we're opening an office in a place called Lake James, which is exciting. It's about 45 minutes, and it'll be our fourth office. There's a lot of opportunity there, so I'm excited about that. I've never really been one for setting like targeted percentage growth or anything like that. I track all that and I do projections based on that, but it's not like, oh, in X number of years, I want to be this big. So I would just say incremental growth. And that growth, again, I've learned that in incremental growth means sometimes there's a recession and this total sales volume decreases. But
Mhm.
I guess growth in market share, and then just maintaining quality, and and keep our reputation where it is, which I think is a strong recognized as being a strong company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, you're a big outdoor enthusiast. I think there's a lot of similarities between Western North Carolina and Vermont. And so Lake James, you can hopefully mix some of that business
Exactly.
and pleasure and get a little bit of R&R in.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to
Well,
figure out if I can justify buying a pontoon boat for Greybeard, but I don't know if I can do that.
it's the latest marketing strategy,
Well,
right?
it's maybe good to have those metal signs, magnet signs on the sides.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Speaking of marketing and with your background, I am curious, how have you found success marketing yourself, and what would you attribute the strong reputation that GreyBeard has to, if not just sort of boots on the ground?
Right. Um, Not because it's Union Street that's doing this, but we've had a valuable relationship with Union Street Media since 16 years, I guess. 16, 17 years. And y'all really brought the expertise, which is great. I'm all about trying things. So we do a lot of testing of different things. I
Mhm,
always say, let's find a test, but just make sure we can measure it. So
mhm,
we're always trying new things as long as we can measure it. And then we keep the things that are working and we get rid of the things that aren't. And over time, we've been pretty successful, I think, in really maximizing our spend on the marketing side. And a lot of that has been Union Street and our relationship with them.
well, and I think just your mindset too. I mean, there's not a lot of broker owners who are who love data, who love to sort of look at the analytics. And I'm also curious, do you, when you're sort of mentoring and coaching your team, do you encourage that they set goals, or they have certain things that they're looking at, or sort of what, how do you find it's been successful for you to sort of do that and motivate your team?
I mean, when somebody comes in, you always have and let me say this too. We're a little bit different from a lot of firms. I mean, I bring on a new broker when we have too many leads for our existing brokers.
Yeah.
And I feel like Greybeard's job is to generate leads for our client, I mean, for our brokers.
Mhm.
And so when I bring on a new broker, I then don't make them or require them to go out and generate their own business. I mean, none of our brokers advertise. It's all Greybeard. So I tell them for this first 6 months, is just be patient. It's going to take a while. Um, and then from 6 months to about a year and a half, you'll be okay. And then from about year and a half to 2.5, you're going to start panicking because you have too much going on. But just again, emphasize the importance of relationships, following up on leads, promptness. I mean, the people that nowadays can go, they may contact 3 or 4 people, and it's the first one to respond is the one that gets it. So we
Mhm.
talk about that. But I don't, I'm probably, in some ways, I worked in the bank as I mentioned, and I really didn't like having quotas, and they used to have games where you would get a certain number of points if you did a certain number of things. And I try to create an environment here where I would want to work, and so I don't have quotas or anything like that for the people that work here for the brokers.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I am. I have heard from quite a few people, and I'm a believer. David Ogilvy said, "Happy wife, happy life," and I think that a lot of people say, "Happy agents, happy customers," and so it is. That is an important piece.
I really believe so.
Yeah, well, and you've built a huge business on it, hugely successful. I am impressed. You haven't really grown your agents. You've sort of taken a different approach from a lot of these companies that I don't want to say get too big for themselves, and it's all about growth in terms of numbers. And yours is really like you have prioritized quality over quantity, and that GCR has to grow, total revenue has to grow, and people in offices doesn't necessarily at the same pace. You definitely have opened offices, and I like that you and respect that you sort of have stayed true to that boutique model that you really believe in, that high quality model.
Yeah, it really does come down to the people, and
Mhm.
we all get along so well. It really is. I mean, hopefully others will say that besides me, but we all get along great. We very much enjoy each other's company. Um, And like when I add a new broker, I always meet with them, and then they have to go to lunch with a couple other brokers, and then have a coffee with another broker,
Mhm.
and just make sure that chemistry is there. And I've really hire slowly,
Mhm.
um, add new brokers really slowly, and um, because the reputation of this company is its people. It's not me. And if you can have the greatest marketing in the world, but if your brokers don't perform or aren't quality people, then that's going to be your reputation. So
Yeah, and clearly, I mean, your retention speaks volumes. You've had a lot of the same staff for years and years and years, so that's a testament to that for sure. Well, I'm curious, we talked a little bit about marketing, talking about the human connection. I think technology, especially during COVID, has been absolutely sort of the savior as it relates to keeping us connected. What do you think, when you look at your tech stack and when you're maybe advising agents or brokers who don't necessarily have all the pieces they need? What do you think are the sort of most important tools that your team needs today from a technology standpoint to actually do their work?
um, I mean, today you have to know, you got to be able to not, you can't be afraid of technology in today's world. I mean, it's a given that you can do everything you need to do on MLS. Yeah, we use Follow Up Boss as our call management system,
Mhm.
CRM, and and so they have to know that, they have to be organized and be able to use that. Um, and we use Dropbox to keep all our files. Everything is digital, and it was funny with COVID because we all scattered and went our separate ways, and everything's fine because we use cloud-based technologies.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, those are kind of the trying to think if I'm missing something. I mean, that's what the brokers use. Those things probably the most.
Yeah. Well, and thinking about sort of your team's needs, but also your younger self or people who might be looking to follow in your footsteps. I'm not going to say you're not young, and I'm curious, back to sort of how you got started and coming full circle. What would you say to new agents, either starting out with you, or also new agents looking to start a brokerage? What advice would you give them?
um, I mean, new brokers just, I mean, and again, I kind of did my own thing. I started from scratch. I'd never been in this industry before. Um, and I was content with growing gradually.
Mhm.
Um, but I would say just, just to realize it's going to take a while. It's going to take a couple years. If you start from scratch, it's going to take a couple years. Fortunately, I had some savings, and I had about 2 years worth of savings, or I'd been back into banking. That's about how long it took to where I started seeing the income. The other things that's amazing about growing the company from my perspective, or what I've learned, is it just takes so much money to grow a business. Every year I think, okay, I've made it. This is the year, and then we'll buy another office, or we'll invest in another software, we'll add another admin person or something. And so you're always, in some ways, I feel like I'm always chasing. So that's been something I've learned. I would encourage them to be balanced, and that's not kind of work related, but I feel like I've done a good job and I haven't burned out after 21 years. And I've been able to spend a lot of time with my family, a lot of time exercising, doing the things I want. Um, and I'm still here passionate about work because it's not all that I've done for the last 21 years.
And you're not an unhappy banker anymore. So
I'm not a happy banker anymore. And I made it. I get another year.
that could be a good recruiting strategy, though, just go after all the
That's
unhappy
right.
bankers.
That's right.
Well, this has been wonderful, Chip. I have one more question and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
Um, what's something that no one knows about you or most people don't know about you? A fun fact you want to share?
I've gotten addicted to kiteboarding. Um, and so we just bought a house at the Outer Banks, and I'm going to work remotely from there periodically so that I can get my addiction of kiteboarding. It's about 7 hours from here.
That's awesome.
That's I don't know how many people know that. I guess the people around here see my equipment on my car occasionally, so they know, but others don't.
So I don't really know anything about kiteboarding, but is that a ocean only activity or can you do it like up in Lake
Uh,
James or?
yeah, no, it takes pretty steady wind, so it works better on the coast or in the Sound or in the ocean. The lake, especially Lake James, is very mountainous, so the winds are very gusty there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I have to drive about 7 hours to find a good spot to go.
Well, send us pictures or
Okay,
video.
will do.
Well, awesome. If you'll hang around for a couple minutes, Chip, that would
Okay.
be great. And for everyone else, again, this is Chip Craig, who is the broker owner of GreyBeard Realty and Rentals, one of my favorite real estate offices and favorite areas of the country. Moved to Western North Carolina. And this is the Future of Real Estate series. I'm Rachel Allard, and thank you so much, Chip.
Thank you.